Hello everybody and welcome back to a new mech gameplay video. Today we're looking at the Osiris, which came out as part of the Escalation Pack in October of 2017. For those who will be watching it, you know, after the fact that this is a new video right now when I'm making it, but in the future, you get the idea. So just a quick look at the build. There's nothing different. Couldn't change anything on the build. There was nothing that I could really do with it. It's pretty heavily sort of stocked up in stock, so to speak. So I couldn't change the engine to anything bigger. You don't really want to drop the speed on Osiris, and I couldn't really do anything with the armour. So that was pretty much it. If you're interested in the colours I picked, it was I think it's a Lyran Guards unit, which is very sort of light blue with a bright yellow colour. I quite like it personally for a sort of Lyran Commonwealth paint scheme for a battlemech, and it kind of fits because this was used by the Federated Commonwealth back in the day, both before and during the Civil War. It was a mech that was designed by, I believe it's Achrenar Battlemechs. They had a bit of a slump in their production and they wanted to rejuvenate themselves and get themselves back on the market as a premier sort of battlemech developer, and this was one of their designs. And the Osiris was designed specifically to kind of mimic the performance of the Dragonfly that the clans use, also known as the Viper. Obviously, the first difference is this is a light mech compared to the clan's Viper, and I don't know whether this was something of a folly to try and copy a mech that was heavier by at least 5 ton and had clan equipment in it, which means the clan equipment was already lighter to begin with, and even though the inner sphere tech had improved by the 3060s, it still wasn't on the same level as the clan's equipment, and as such the Osiris didn't quite reach the same potential as a sort of fast combat scout that the Dragonfly currently is. So what does the Osiris make up for? Well, it's incredibly fast. It does manage to mimic the speed of the Dragonfly, which means it can keep up and it can perform the scout role particularly well. It has 5 medium lasers, an SRM-6 and a machine gun. The machine gun is purely for anti-infantry on the tabletop, but obviously in MechWarrior Online, machine guns are becoming more and more prevalent for their DPS over time, their zero heat generation, and being particularly light, and in mechs with large enough ballistics numbers, it's pretty damn good. But the Osiris doesn't have a focus on ballistics, it has a focus on energy. So, as you saw from the shot or two I took there earlier, you can see that the Osiris has a very heavy preference of energy weapons on its right hand side, and that is the side you're going to want to protect when you're the pilot of an Osiris, because you don't want that side blown off, because you're going to be left with your missile and your ballistic slot, and that's not really going to carry you for the rest of the match. So always keep in mind that your right arm and your right torso are premier things to keep going in the fight. Sacrifice your left side just to keep your right side, because that's the thing that's going to do most of your damage. And if you're coming up against the Osiris and you can't hit the leg but you can hit the torso, I would recommend blowing off that right hand side, because it will cripple that player's capability for damage, and who doesn't like doing that, huh? So that said, the Osiris has a lot of speed, a few jump jets, doesn't give it great jump distance but enough, and it's got a pretty decent pack in its firepower that can do a lot of damage very quickly. Its main downside is that it's pretty fragile. It doesn't have a lot of armour. Now, this can obviously be customised by yourself, by obviously dropping the engine size, completely redoing the weaponry, and you can get the armour up there, which means it will have about the same amount of armour potentially as any of its contemporaries at the same weight. But if you take it out for a spin unmolested, so to speak, it will be fast and very good at being able to flank around targets and doing good damage quickly. It will be very, very, very fragile, so try not to get too close to anybody, try not to linger too long in one spot, and yeah, take your shots and run. It's a hit and run mech, it's a harasser, and it works very well in that role. It does not work well in a toe-to-toe situation, and I don't really think it's equipped for fighting other lights as well as it is equipped for fighting heavier mechs. I started using its weapons in chainfire, which did help immensely with the heat, but it doesn't mean you can't get a couple of high alphas out in the start with those medium lasers, because they can do a lot of damage very quickly, and you can down targets with those 5 mediums in one salvo before pulling back just to drop some of your heat. So yeah, I would recommend the Osiris. If you haven't picked it up and you don't want to spend any money, I don't blame you. It's well worth the wait. As a C-bill mech or a mech credit version, if you've got some mech credit spare, If you have been on the fence about picking it up, being it's a light, it's a cheaper pack at $15. It's worth it. If you like light mechs, this is a pretty good option. I've enjoyed it so far. I've enjoyed the couple of matches I've run in it, and this was the very first match I ever played in the Osiris. It's got 0 skills, skill points applied to it, and it's had, as I said, no modification, and I think I pull out a fairly decent match considering I'm in a pretty lightly armoured mech at the time, and I must have survived quite a while. I think I do a decent enough damage, given its equipment and such. So, you know, I would recommend it. Can't really think of any drawbacks other than the usual light stuff, as in your legs are weak. You're going to be running something like an XL engine, probably. So, yeah, just protect them, as always. Try not to stand still too long. The usual. And, yeah, it's a fun mech, and I could see having a lot of fun in this going forward. Lights are usually a lot more fun for me in this game, so I'll be running this probably on streams and stuff in the future. So until then, thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you have a good week, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Torso critical damage. Left arm destroyed.
Target spotted.
Right arm critical damage. SRM destroyed. New target acquired.
Target spotted.
Left leg destroyed. Target acquired. New target acquired. Right leg destroyed. Machine gun ammo destroyed. Fuel at 0%. Heat level critical. New target acquired. Right torso destroyed.
Come in. Control to surface. Can anyone read?